Hello everyone, welcome to another exciting episode of Dayspring Discussions. I'm your host, Sean McGahee, and this is a show where we talk about movies, TV, sci-fi, fantasy, comic books. If you geek out about it, we're going to talk about it. You can listen to Dayspring Discussions on iTunes, YouTube, Podomatic, and Patreon, and contact Dayspring Discussions on the Facebook group, Twitter account, and dayspringdiscussions@gmail.com. Well, happy Thursday everyone. Hope you all are having a good week and are ready for the weekend. A little bit later than what I usually record the show these days, mainly because I woke up and the power was out. A little weird, but luckily I still had 4G on my phone. The coffee was already made thanks to my wife who had to get up early. I love you, babe. And I went out and just cleaned my car. When I came back in, the power was on, so I was like, all right, ready to do my show before I head into work. Luckily, I go in a little bit later today. But a lot of stuff to talk about, guys. A lot of stuff to talk about. Disney recently announced a whole slate of films going through 2027, actually. And there's a lot of stuff to break down in that, so I will get to that as well. But, of course, let's start off with what's going on this weekend. Detective Pikachu, the Ryan Reynolds film, is coming out, and it's really the first competition for Avengers Endgame. Now, on Tuesday night, Lisa and I went back and saw Endgame again. Just as enjoyable. Man, that last fight scene is so awesome. I mean, I still get giddy when Cap gets Mjolnir. Yes, I'm going spoilers. Guys, it's free reign, okay? Come on. With the Spider-Man trailer, it's free reign, okay? Gets Mjolnir. Of course, when he straps on his shield after it's broken and he's facing down all of Thanos' army. That's my Facebook cover. And then, of course, when he calls out Avengers Assemble, it's great. It's still a lot of fun. It'll probably be the last time I see it in theaters. James Cameron actually put out a little message, I think it was yesterday or this morning, congratulating Endgame on taking out Titanic for the number 2 box office spot of all time, and it's coming for his next film, Avatar. We'll see if it gets there or not. I'm sure it will, but at least I contributed a little bit more money to its success and the possibility that a comic book film could be the number 1 box office film of all time. We'll see, guys. But if you've already seen Endgame several times like me, you're probably going to go check out Detective Pikachu. I am not a Pokemon fan, okay? Not even in the slightest. But this is kind of a fantasy film that falls in my wheelhouse. I know what Pokemon is. This looks like it could be really a nice little like Who Framed Roger Rabbit type of noir detective story. So you got me hooked there. Of course, there's a bunch of Pokemon fans that are going to go check it out. Maybe I can get one of them, Josh, to come in with me and talk Pokemon, or maybe someone else. Probably going to end up seeing it Tuesday night, so I probably won't talk about it on Tuesday's show. It'll probably be Thursday when I talk about it. So if you're going to go see Detective Pikachu, fire back, of course. Let me know what you think of it, and if you think maybe I should just skip it. I mean, like I said, Tuesday night's when I'm thinking about going to go see it. If you go see it before then and think it's not worth it, let me know. Okay, guys, so let's get to the stories for today. Like I said, there's a lot of stuff to go through. Mainly it has to do with the Disney announcements of their upcoming slate of films. And lucky for this show, that now includes X-Men films, of course, since Disney has now acquired 20th Century Fox. But first, before I get to that, of course, a little bit of X-Men news. The first trailer for the new and final season of Legion has been released. The show, of course, on FX, Season 3, final season. And for those of you not familiar with the show, it's basically about Professor Xavier's son, David. And it's very psychedelic and trippy and very different from a lot of other comic book shows you're going to see on TV, which was a good thing in Season 1. I started watching the first episode of this series when it premiered, and it was a little too different for my taste, but I give a show 3 episodes. If I'm not into it after 3 episodes, I stop. Luckily, by the end of episode 2, I was hooked. Finished the first season, watched the first 2 episodes of Season 2. Again, they started to go too trippy for me, and the story didn't seem to go anywhere. I didn't care about the characters, so I quit. So I have no idea how season 2 ended. This looks like David is kind of maybe lost his mind and there's going to be some time travel. I know they cast an actual Charles Xavier for the show. Not sure where it's going to go. Legion's never been one of my favorite X-Men characters, so I wasn't super psyched about the show to begin with. And like I said, I think it's one of those shows that is different, but I think it's trying too hard to be different, in my opinion, so I didn't stick with it. I really don't care about season 3, and that's all I'm going to say about that. But if you do like Legion and you're excited for season 3, of course, for you. That's awesome. Fire back. Let me know why I should finish season 2, and who knows, you might convince me. Speaking of things I might not ever get to watch, in that little announcement, of course, with Disney, one of the things they talked about was the X-Men spin-off film, The New Mutants. Now, this film was supposed to come out last year, back in April. I remember it was October 2017. They came out with a trailer for it. Actually, I remember going through theaters and seeing the posters, and after April, the local Cinemark theater still had the poster up, even though it was past time for the movie to come out. So, allegedly, there's some reshoots they want to do that have been put off and still haven't been done. The film was bumped to April 2018, then February 2019, then August 2019, which is in a couple months. Still not going to happen. So now the film has been bumped to April 3rd, 2020, almost 2 years after it was originally supposed to come out. Like I said, reshoots were supposed to be done. They still are not done. And now these teenage actors are going to be about 4 years older when filming actually starts. Some people have said, they should just cut their losses, put it together, and dump it on Hulu or something. I might say yes. This film, the trailer, when I first saw it, New Mutants, I'm familiar with the characters. I love the character of Cannonball, Sam Guthrie, who is going to be played by Stranger Things' Charlie Hutton. Of course, Game of Thrones' Macy Williams is going to be Wolfsbane. And then you've got Anna Taylor-Joy as Magic, otherwise known as Colossus' sister. So there was a lot of potential in there, especially the fact they were going for the horror slant of it all. It's become a joke at this point. It's become a joke as far as when this film or if this film is ever going to come out. It was this and, of course, Dark Phoenix as the last kind of X-Men films in 20th Century Fox's lineup. There's another one that is on a possibility that I'll talk about in a minute. But, given the fact that it looked different from the average X-Men film, much like how Deadpool and Logan were different from your X-Men films, it could have been interesting. I'm not a horror fan, of course, but I'm willing to check this out, much like I'm willing to check Brightburn out, because it's essentially a Superman story, but with a different slant to it. So I'm looking forward to that in a couple of weeks. But with New Mutants, I just don't know. I mean, I have every intention that they're going to release some version of this at some point, but I'm not holding my breath as to when. I mean, I have honestly no idea. They've already spent the money. I mean, like I said, 20th Century Fox, which is now Disney, have already spent the money on that first production. So whether they want to put a little more money into it for the reshoots, and it probably will be some extensive reshoots, given the fact that when the actors come back, they're going to look older, okay? So how they fix that, you got me. Going to be some heavy de-aging in that process, I think. But anyway, guys, New Mutants pushed back 2 years from its original date. Were you excited for this film? Did you want to see this film? Do you think we're ever going to see this film? Fire back, of course, on the social media groups and Gmail account. Let me know what you think. All right, last piece of news in regards to X-Men with this Disney announcement is the regards of Channing Tatum's Gambit movie and the status of it. Now, as far as we know, the film had been said, last updated, was March 13th, 2020. Now, nothing was said as far as the film actually being canceled, but this film has gone through development limbo as several directors have jumped on and off. At one point, Channing Tatum himself was set to possibly direct the film, but now with other announcements that Disney has brought forth, it might look like this film is put on another hiatus, maybe even canceled whatsoever. So Disney announced that they have another film, Onward, coming on March 6, 2020, and then the live-action remake of Mulan was going to hit March 27th. So putting another film kind of in the middle might hurt other films of theirs, so they might not want to do that. And of course, now we have the announcement that New Mutants, another X-Men film, is set for April 3rd, 2020, which isn't that far off from, say, when Gambit was supposed to happen. No shooting has begun on this film, even though it's less than a year from its announcement. And as far as I know, they still don't have a director nailed down. I mean, let's just go ahead and say that this film is not going to come out in March of 2020. I mean, that's at least obvious. Whether the film is going to come out at all, I don't know, but it's been years. I mean, it's been almost, 5 years, I think, since Channing Tatum stepped out with Fox's X-Men cast and took the picture and talked about his Gambit film he was excited to make. Now, Channing Tatum, for a while, I thought was a horrible, 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 horrible actor, okay? But he's practiced, gotten better at his craft, and of course, is a decent actor now. You know, when he says he's going to be in a film, I say, okay, whatever it is, I'm willing to trust that, you know, he's good enough to do whatever he needs to for whatever role he needs to, okay? But this Gambit film, I don't know. I mean, honestly, I think at this point we're going to have a better shot at introducing Gambit in an X-Men reboot, which, of course, eventually Disney is going to do. Put him in an X-Men film, then you can spin him off if you want. I don't think this film's going to happen. I mean, it was a while ago with this and New Mutants. I had very large doubts as to either of these films either seeing the light of day. New Mutants had been shot, at least. You know, the film had been shot, the money had been spent, so you got a bigger chance of that film actually being released because the studio already spent their money and they want to get at least some of that money back somehow. With Gambit, of course, nothing's been shot, maybe a couple of rewrites on the script, but that's about it, which isn't really that much money in regards to a studio. So if they halt production and stop it right now, you know, it's not a big loss to them. I do believe we're going to get a Gambit in the upcoming years as part of the X-Men MCU. That sounds weird. That just sounds really weird to me. I'm of the mind I don't want to see the X-Men in the MCU. I know it's going to happen, of course, but one thing I've loved is the fact that as an X-Men fan for all my life, there are so many more aspects of the X-Men and so many characters of X-Men. They never needed to join with the rest of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Even in the comics, a lot of the big Marvel events don't have a lot of the X-Men in them. And then, of course, you know, a lot of X-Men events are kind of in their own little corner of the Marvel Universe just because you don't need it to mesh to make it work. Of course, it's cool to see, you know, Wolverine on the Avengers. That's awesome, but you didn't need to see that. So, I don't know. Channing Tatum as Gambit, I would say it's not completely dead, but I would give it about a 5% chance it's going to happen right now. But that's just my thoughts on it. What do you guys think? Do you want to see the film? Do you think it's going to happen? Do you think it's going to happen before maybe 2025? I don't think, honestly, we will, but who knows? I've been wrong about a lot of stuff in my life. But Fireback, of course, Facebook group, Twitter account, and dayspringdiscussions@gmail.com. Let me know. All right, continuing on, let's get to the meat of this Disney announcement. Now, guys, HBO just put out a trailer yesterday, I believe, for Watchmen, their series that's going to come out in the fall. I don't know if I'm going to have time to get to it because I'm going to talk the rest of the time about MCU dates and Star Wars dates, so I'm probably running out of time. But if you haven't checked it out, you can go to the Facebook group and Twitter account, comment on it, and then fire back, let me know what you think. So, moving on to that, let's go with the Marvel announcements. Now, Disney has said that they have several Marvel Phase 4 films dates set and ready to go. So the first one is May 20th, 2020, November 6th, 2020. Then in 2021, you got February 12th, May 7th, November 5th. February 18th of 2022, May 6th, 2022, and July 29th, 2022. So, It's time to speculate. All right. We really don't have a good idea of what comes next after Spider-Man Far From Home. We know several things that are kind of in the works. First off, Black Widow solo film has been casting. It's said to be in production sometime this month, which means it's a pretty good idea that that's probably the film that's farthest along. So that May 1st, 2020 might be when we're going to see a Black Widow solo film. Other films that are, said to be in production, we know there's a script for Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. James Gunn just jumped back on as director of the film. I could see that going pretty soon here. Black Panther 2, we got a director, probably a script being written, that's in development. Doctor Strange 2, again, director in development, and they're casting for the Eternals as well. I think that's the ones that we've heard about. If there's anything else, of course, let me know, of course. Probably forgot something along the way here. Okay, so let's try to plug some stuff in here. So May 1st, like I said, my bet is that's going to be Black Widow. The other film that is furthest along is Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. November 6th, 2020 is still about a year and a half away. Think that's a kind, given the fact that they've probably already got the cast together, they've got the director, they've got the script, they can probably start shooting pretty soon. There's probably going to be quite a bit of CGI and effects that need to be done, which take a long time. But my guess is we're either going to see Guardians 3 in November 6th or go back to May 7th, 2021. That's my idea for Guardians 3. Black Panther, it came out in February 2018, and there's a little date of February 12th, 2021. Seems like a good spot to put it, if I do say so myself. Doctor Strange, again, came out in November, I believe, of 2017. November 5th, 2021. Sounds like a nice little date to put that back in its spot. Eternals, I think maybe Disney might not have as much faith in that, given that's a brand new property with unknown characters. But they got a good cast. So I can see either that hitting February 18th, 2022 or May 6th, 2022. I think February, given the fact that, there's not a lot of competition in February versus May, might be a better spot for it. But it's got a good cast. It's Marvel. It's got the momentum as far as that goes. So summer release in May 6th, I can see that happening. Beyond that, who knows? Like I said, those are the films that we've heard about that are casting or in production in some way or form. I'm sure Kevin Feige, I'm going to say within the next 3 months, Kevin Feige is going to come out and tell us his plan, because he has a plan for the next 5 years that allegedly does not involve X-Men or Fantastic Four, given that they just acquired them a month or two or so from Disney. The deal was finally done. People were like, oh, he's not supposed to even, talk about that until the deal was done. You can't stop him from talking about it, okay? No, yeah, he's a head of production, but, that's like me talking about it. I can talk about what I think, I would do, but it's just talk is what it is. And even if he's not talking about it, as I do quotes with my fingers, he's thinking about it, okay? So if you're telling me Kevin Feige's got the next 5 years planned out, and in some way he didn't have a plan B or figure out a way where he could put X-Men and Fantastic Four, two of the hottest Marvel properties in the company's history, somewhere in there within the next 5 years, I'd say you're crazy, okay? X-Men has always been one of the most popular titles in Marvel, okay? It has some of the most popular characters. You're going to let Wolverine sit on the shelf for like 7 years? Are you kidding me? I'm not saying he's going to rush it, but Kevin Feige, obviously over the last 11 years, he's a guy with ideas and a lot of good ideas. So I have faith that in his plan, he has thought about where he can put them in. And again, X-Men, I don't want to see as part of the MCU. The big question is how he's going to bring mutants into the Marvel Cinematic Universe because of the history. If you think about Xavier, Magneto, and the past they have to have and how long mutants have to been around. Now, multiverses allegedly are now in the mix, so that might have something to add to it as far as bringing mutants into the MCU. I don't know. Fantastic Four, I think, is much easier to do, and I would love to see a Fantastic Four film on the May 6th or July 29th, 2022. That's what I would like to see. Let's lay some groundwork with, say, Black Panther or Doctor Strange in bringing them in. We've already got some cosmic aspects with Eternals and Guardians of the Galaxy 3, so I can honestly see maybe a Nova movie, maybe on those 2022 dates as well. That, I think, is a possibility too, given the fact that there's so much more of the cosmic Marvel universe we haven't explored. But yeah, I mean, I think 2022, I think one of those dates is Fantastic Four. I'm not going to bet money on it, but I'm saying Fantastic Four. Whether one of the other ones is X-Men, I don't know. But of course, there's still Thor. I mean, we can say they're not going to do Captain America or an Iron Man, obviously from the end of Endgame, and you got Bucky and Falcon getting their own show, so they're not probably going to get their own movie. So, Avengers movie? Maybe. X-Men, Fantastic Four? Maybe. Or Thor 4. Those are my guesses for 2022. Maybe even a Thor film for 2021. And that's what I got, guys. Time for you to figure out and fire back and let me know what you think. Do you think any of these dates is a Fantastic Four X-Men? Do you think any of these films are an Avengers film? Okay? Fire back, of course. Let me know what you think. Let's discuss it, because that's what we're here to do, guys. Alright, guys. I'm already out of time, but of course, I gotta talk some Star Wars. So, probably the biggest part of this Disney announcement, I would say maybe between this and Marvel, or, you could say what you care about more. But they talked about some Star Wars Avatar films. So Disney is going to lock in on that December date for Star Wars films and also Avatar films. Starting in 2022, we're getting our next Star Wars film. And then we're getting one every other year. And then the gap is going to be followed by an Avatar film. So we got Avatar coming December 17th, 2021. Then we're getting a Star Wars film the following December. Then an Avatar film. Then a Star Wars film. Then an Avatar film. Then a Star Wars film. They basically got 4 more Avatar films planned and 3 more Star Wars films planned. Now this is different. They're taking a break. We've gotten a Star Wars film every year ever since 2015. There was Force Awakens, then Rogue One, then Last Jedi, then Solo, and then of course we got The Rise of Skywalker coming out in December of this year. I think Solo definitely taught Disney a lesson. It wasn't the fact that Solo was a bad film. Anyone who watches it that I've talked to, sure, it wasn't the best, but it was a fun, enjoyable film. A lot of Star Wars fans like it just for, the campy and funness of it, I guess. Their mistake was, A, putting it out so soon next to The Last Jedi, and B, not putting it out in that December date that they had started to carve out for them as a big moneymaker spot. If Force Awakens and Last Jedi proved anything, it's that there is money to be made in December if you put a big film around that. I mean, you can go back to the first Avatar film in 2019. That came out around the holidays and scored huge money, okay? So now they're taking all their chips and their big blockbuster sci-fi epics and they're putting them in December, which is fine by me. But now let's talk about what exactly these Star Wars films may be. Because this is The Rise of Skywalker in December, is Episode 9, the last of what we would call the episodic films, which we think is what it is. But it's the last of the Skywalker saga. Kathleen Kennedy herself said the episodes are the Skywalker saga, so I think this is going to be the end of that. Do I think it's the end of characters like Rey, Poe, and Finn? I don't know, honestly. Kathleen Kennedy again said that we're going to have further adventures of them, but this is kind of putting the Skywalker saga, which started all the way back in Episode 1, when we were first introduced to little Annie, as the end of it, which in my opinion means all the Skywalkers are going to be gone by the end of this episode, which includes Princess Leia, General Leia, and then of course Kylo Ren, which I think almost guarantees that Kylo's going down. Whether he turns or not, back to the good side, I don't think he does. Even if he does, though, he's going to go out. That's just the way it is, and that's the way you end the saga. And I'm fine with it. I'm totally fine with it. Now, I don't really want to talk too much about Avatar because, it get pushed back again. I mean, I think the Avatar 2 was supposed to come out, I think it was 2017, 2015, several years ago. It's pushed back again to 2021, where it was supposed to be, I think, 2020 was the latest. I don't want to get into that. I want to talk Star Wars because that's what I love. This December will be the end of the saga films, and I'm fine with that. I am totally done with the episodes. Let's go off in a new direction. We got Rian Johnson allegedly working on something, and Benioff and Weiss, the creators of Game of Thrones, working on something. People are speculating they're going to do some Old Republic, mainly because if you took lightsabers and put them in Game of Thrones, it's pretty much what people imagined Old Republic being like, which, of course, if you go online on YouTube and see Game of Thrones with lightsabers, it's the most awesome thing ever. But that's neither here nor there. Some people are a little torn, of course, with Rian Johnson because of The Last Jedi. I enjoyed The Last Jedi. I'm okay with Rian Johnson. I'm okay with whatever comes next, okay? Because I trust both Rian Johnson and Benioff and Weiss. I think Lucasfilm with Kathleen Kennedy and Disney have learned from their mistakes about Star Wars. They wanted to, make money. They acquired Star Wars. It's the biggest franchise in history. I mean, as of right now, Marvel Studios might give them a run for their money, maybe in another decade or so, but as of right now, I still contend Star Wars is the biggest movie franchise in history. Of course, you want to make money. Of course, you want to do the best you can, but in this day and age, we've realized there are other ways to make money besides that. Mandalorian, Cassian Andor, Clone Wars, all this stuff coming to Disney Plus. People are going to sign up for Disney Plus because of that stuff. I mean, on top of the Marvel stuff that's coming too, but, Star Wars fans, as soon as Disney Plus launches, The Mandalorian's going to be on there. I don't remember if they said all the episodes are going to be on there at once. If they are, I'm taking that day off of work when Disney Plus launches, and I'm going to watch all of Mandalorian, maybe not all in one day, but a lot of it in, a couple days. I'll finish it definitely within 2 to 3 days to be sure. But there are other venues for them to make money as far as Star Wars is concerned, I guess. There's that little gap of 3 years, of course, but as an older Star Wars fan, I'm used to it. I'm used to not getting, a Star Wars film. I mean, I was born in 1983. Okay, I went and had the original trilogy till I was 15. And then we went several more years without getting Star Wars. I mean, I'm used to these big gaps. But now the difference is, again, I've got The Mandalorian. I've got episodes of Clone Wars. I've got the Cassian Andor. There are Star Wars stuff that's going to come out in between then. Books, comics. I consume it, almost all of it. So it's not like my life is going to be void of Star Wars. I'm okay waiting a couple more years for whoever to make another Star Wars film and to make a good Star Wars film. Totally okay with that. Do I wish maybe 2 years would have been a better gap? Of course, but I'm selfish, and it goes really against what, they said initially with a Star Wars film every year from here to eternity. But, you got to adapt, and of course, if you get a better product, I'm okay with waiting, much like I am with, say, New Mutants, Dark Phoenix, stuff like that. So, but that's what I think, guys. Time for you to fire back, of course. Let me know what you think. How do you feel about Disney changing their plan with Star Wars and, of course, going a little bit later than what they said initially they would with Star Wars films? What do you think these new Star Wars films are going to be about? Do you think it's Old Republic or something different? Do you think it's continued adventures of Rey, Finn, and Poe? Fire back, of course. Let me know what you think. And, of course, let me know if you're going to be satisfied with what we get in between as far as Mandalorian, Clone Wars, Cassian Andor, and of course some Resistance. And I'm sure there's other stuff that are going to be announced as well in there. I have no doubt that between this December and when the next film comes out in 2022, we're going to get something else in the forms of a Star Wars TV series on top of what's already been announced. So that's it, guys. That's all I have for the day. Of course, once again, I have run long. It happens. But fire back, of course, on the social media groups, Facebook group, Twitter. Let me know what you think about any of the topics I've talked about. dayspringdiscussions@gmail.com. Go out, enjoy your weekend, of course. Let me know if you go see Detective Pikachu, and let me know what you think about it. And let me know if you go see Endgame again, and if you have any new thoughts about it. Go out, have fun, guys, and remember, may the Force be with us all.